But you want to know what the gag is?
But the gag is
We will never achieve it. Ever. Because it's fake.
fake.
As you can see by the title of today's video, we're going to be talking about selfies and the effect that they have on ourself. Now, although I'm talking about selfies, the general topic is also just going to be on social media, but I do think that the concept of selfies are really interesting and how it ties into all of this. Before we do get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and follow me on my socials so we can stay in contact. All right, let's get into it. So the idea of self-portraits, or ancient selfies, as I like to call them, is not new at all. People have been doing this for centuries. It can be traced back to places all over the world in ancient times, but the first documented self-portrait was by Jan van Eyck in 1433 in the mid-Renaissance era. His portrait was called Portrait of a Man. Now, although this is the first documented self-portrait, I would bet my life on it that it wasn't the first, but still interesting nonetheless. Throughout history, self-portraits have served many purposes. For some artists, it was a form of self-expression. For others, they did it because of vain reasons. But either way, I think that self-portraits are still very important and a very interesting part of history. Notable artists like Frida Kahlo and Da Vinci both have self-portraits. Initially, self-portraits were done in paint on a canvas, but the invention of the camera came along, and that kind of changed how people did their self-portraits. You didn't necessarily have to be an artist or a painter to be able to do a self-portrait. If you had access to a camera or a cameraman, a photographer, if you had access to a photographer, or if you even knew how to set it up yourself. Earlier cameras, it might have been a little bit difficult. But as time went on with cameras, we obviously figured it out. But everyday people were starting to be able to get self-portraits done if you had the money. And then obviously the invention of cameras that we could just hold in our hand, and smartphones came around, and we were able to take selfies much, much easier and conveniently. The idea of forever wanting to capture ourselves in a sort of art form is nothing new. The traditional ways of doing self-portraits carried over into the way we do selfies now, especially these days when it comes to the lighting, the composition, and just different techniques when it comes to photography and art in general. The most significant part about selfie culture or self-portraits that really changed was social media. Like I said, the introduction of the smartphone and then of course social media made selfies take off in a way that it never would have without it, and in a lot of ways transformed the way we see ourselves. Selfies became a huge part of culture. I don't know if y'all remember when the selfie stick came out. It was like a crazy cultural phenomenon. Everybody wanted a selfie stick. It was the weirdest thing. Now, when you think about it, the original selfie was pretty lighthearted, pretty spontaneous, and the way it evolved kind of went back to the way things were done originally almost. Like when you think about it, when we first started taking selfies, we would use our phones, quickly pull it out, take a selfie, boom, move on, and post it. There was really nothing crazy to it. But now, a lot of times, selfies have a lot more thought behind them. There's a lot more intention behind them. We are willing to spend money on maybe certain apps so that we can edit the photo or filter the photo. So something that really didn't cost anything extra than having a smartphone is now becoming more expensive and time consuming if you are editing that photo. And when you think about it, in the past, when they were doing photography on the early cameras or even paintings, that was expensive because of materials. It took a lot of time, obviously, because painting can take you days, weeks, months, etc. And then, of course, the ancient selfies, there was a ton of thought and calculation behind them. For some artists, every stroke on the canvas was intentional and had a reason for it. If they put some blue here or some orange here or something here, there was a thought process behind it. And it's kind of similar now when we take photos, there's a concept behind it sometimes. We want to look a certain way, or there's a certain image that we have in our head of how we want ourselves to look. So we position ourselves, we might set up lighting. There's a lot of different things that go into it, where originally the selfie wasn't really that complicated. So like I said, in a way, it seems like the selfie now is evolving into what self-portraits in the past were. It's not the same. It's really not the same. And of course, I'm aware there's people out there that are artists that are painting themselves and other people, and there's still photographers out there that are doing portraits for people. But in comparison, to the selfie today and the self portraits of the past, which were their version of selfies. The ones in the past obviously still were a lot more complicated, expensive, and time consuming. It's just interesting how the selfie is shifting closer and closer to that. I did just want to talk a little bit about the history of self portraits, and it's very brief. We could be here for hours if we wanted to, but I think it's important to understand that context a little bit while we start talking about the social media aspect of it. So, the invention of social media really changed the way we perceive ourselves and other people. Honestly, to me, it feels like social media is almost like a stage. It's like a play almost where people choose what character they want to play. Social media allows us to curate an image. So if you're one way in real life, you have a potential to be a completely different person on social media by only posting certain things, by only looking and dressing a certain way online. It's like you can create a whole new identity to people that really don't know you in real life, which can be positive or negative. It's a great way to express yourself, to explore new ideas, new looks, whatever, in a place where people don't already have a preconceived notion of you. Social media has this really interesting paradox where you can obviously show up on social media and be authentically yourself. You can present yourself however you want and not care what anybody else thinks. But then on the other hand, there's this really immense pressure to almost conform and present this idolized version of yourself. Because a lot of times, if you don't, it can at times lead to you feeling some type of way, negative ways about yourself. And one really prominent way that we can adhere to this perfect image or this ideal version of ourselves on social media is by using filters and editing softwares or editing apps, by the way. These tools often allow you to kind of make subtle changes to your face, or not so subtle for some people. It can smooth out your skin. It can put makeup on your face if you don't have makeup on your face. It can even sometimes change your facial features, like make your nose smaller or your lips bigger, and just take away these overall imperfections. And while these tools can be fun and creative, they can honestly continue to feed in an unattainable beauty standard and start to make you feel inadequate, which can be extremely detrimental on self-esteem and just the overall way you view yourself. I don't know about y'all, but there was one point in my life where I could not take a picture without a filter on it. Okay, I was always going to the Snapchat app and putting a filter on my pictures, and literally years of my pictures are ruined because of Snapchat, because of the filters. I didn't like the way I looked without the filters. I became dependent on filters every time I took a picture. And it got to a point a few years back where I told myself I cannot take pictures with filters anymore. I only took pictures with my front-facing camera on my phone, no filters, no nothing. And I will say it did help the way I perceived myself. I was less critical of myself. I started to get used to my actual face again. And at the time, I don't think I realized how profound that was for me to be able to do that. Because it was just kind of like a passing thing. Like, I'm not gonna take pictures with filters anymore. This is getting out of hand. And it really helped me out a lot. So if you have issues with filters, I would definitely recommend that. And I do want to also say that I do know these phone cameras sometimes aren't the best at representing the way we look in real life. I know on my iPhone, when I take a selfie, I look crazy when it actually settles. When I'm taking the actual picture, I feel like I look good. And then it finishes taking the picture or whatever. I look like a zombie. Like I look like a different person. And I think it's something in the settings that Apple has done. I still would recommend trying it out. But like I was saying before, there is a really heavy dependence on filters when it comes to posting our pictures on social media. When we really think about it, why is that? Because wasn't the original idea of social media to be able to connect with your family quickly and efficiently, be able to have a place to capture memories, go back and look at memories, and of course, overall to connect with people? It's called social media, to socialize. So if that was the original purpose of social media, then how did we get to the point where we now value perfection and the more idealized versions of ourselves on social media? The ones that are portraying a falsely curated life over spontaneity and their authentic self. And honestly, it has gotten to a point where that is rewarded. the fakeness, the falsely curated life is rewarded on social media. Because when you really think about it, the more picture perfect the life, the more likely the person is to get followers and subscribers, likes, comments, whatever. When I think about this topic, I can't help but to have the Kardashians like constantly pop up in my mind. When I was looking up some of these topics, and even when I'm talking right now, I keep picturing specifically Kim Kardashian, but the Kardashian tribe in general. Their lives are so calculated and curated on social media. It's scary.
I know North only posted this to get back at Kim. So Kim and North share a TikTok, and North often posts photo dumps. And you know that this picture of Chicago and Kim was not posted because she wanted it in the dump. She wanted it to embarrass Kim. So this picture shows off her pores and her actual skin that we don't see in her Instagram posts or really anywhere else. And you know it was just to get back at Kim because she captioned it such a good picture with a bunch of laughing emojis. I would cry. Which, I don't think it's a bad picture. I think it's beautiful to see her natural skin. Aging is beautiful. Pores are beautiful. It is beautiful. You don't always have to have baby soft skin. I just find it funny that North was like, yeah, you might want to keep these in the drafts, but they're coming out. We're going to show the whole world your pores. And I'm going to laugh about it. Because it's such a good picture because you don't look perfect. And I love that. I love that North is giving us a natural Kim. I love that for her.
And then the people that also come to mind are the top like Instagram, TikTok, really TikTok influencers that have the perfect apartment with the perfect windows and the perfect dog, and everything is white and always clean, and everything they eat is always green. And the reason why I think this is because, in my opinion, social media has become more about validation and money. And for the big creators, it makes sense. They found a formula that works for them, always looking perfect and having skin that's super smooth and always flawless and being super beautiful. They've figured out a way to make money from it. It's literally a business for them. So having this curated life for them is practical and realistic. They know that that is what is getting them paid, right? And we everyday people try to achieve that. We see these people that constantly have this glass skin or just super clear skin in general. Their hair is always gorgeous and beautiful and long, and they always look perfect, and their body's always beautiful. Every time they post a picture of them, it just looks flawless. And we everyday people try to achieve that. But you want to know what the gag is?
But the gag is,
we will never achieve it. Ever. Because it's fake. For the average everyday social media user like you and me, we get the trickle-down effect of this issue on social media. Because for the big creators that are perpetuating this concept, it doesn't affect them. It benefits them. Like I said, they're getting paid. And for us, we spend the money so that we can try to achieve that, but we never will. Because there's no such thing as perfection. There's no such thing as flawless. And we've seen that. Why do you think people go so crazy, or even the celebrities go so crazy whenever somebody captures a picture of them that's not necessarily flattering or that hasn't been approved by them and edited by their team of Photoshop connoisseurs? Because they don't want the truth to come out. If the veil drops, then they can't uphold this idea or this vision character that they're playing. That's perfect. They're not perfect. It's just so unfortunate because we see that this type of lifestyle is what's getting likes and follows and subscribers and shares and comments. And we want to try to achieve that ourselves. So it's like we're constantly chasing, you know, in cartoons when they have like steak or like something on a stick and the dog is chasing it. It's like we're like the dog that's constantly chasing a steak on a stick and we'll never be able to catch it. Like I said, it's about validation and money. A lot of other things, but specifically I'm talking about validation and money right now. And for a lot of us, that constantly seeking that external validation can lead us down a really bad path and really break down our self-worth and our self-esteem. And the psychological impact of this on our mental health is really concerning. And there's a plethora of studies that show that there's a correlation between this and anxiety, depression, and a strong dissatisfaction for our bodies, our faces, just the way that we look. I mean, there's so much information on there about this. You could throw a rock on the internet and hit something that will tell you that social media is breaking us down mentally. Constant exposure to people that have these very curated lives can really cause an identity crisis within yourself because you're like, why don't I look like this? I bought this product that Kim Kardashian uses and my skin still has all this texture, or I have been doing this thing and I just can't seem to look like them and I can't seem to live the life like theirs. And there's so much more behind these curated lives that we don't see. And because of that, it's causing this feeling of inadequacy within ourselves. It's extremely, extremely important to understand that what we're seeing on social media a lot of times is heavily filtered, heavily edited, and also there's a team of people constantly behind these people making sure they look perfect. Hairstylists, makeup artists, and a whole lot of other stuff. According to the Child Mind Institute, 32% of teen girls said they felt bad about their bodies because of Instagram. They also mentioned in this article the amount of young people that are seeking out cosmetic procedures. And I myself can say I have also noticed this on social media. The amount of young people that are going and getting Botox or just other little procedures at a very young age is it's really terrifying to me, if I'm being honest. And it seems like it's a lot more common to see people just casually say, like, yeah, I just went and got Botox, or oh, I can't wait until, like, I can go and get Botox. And it's like, we're not even really thinking about the implications of that, because Botox is something that, and this is a conversation for another day, but just really quickly, Botox is something that even doctors and scientists themselves are still looking into. And there's some concerning stuff about people that got Botox a while back that are having it shift throughout their face in places that it's not supposed to be. And the fact that people are just so casually quick to say, oh, I just want to go get Botox because they see their favorite celebrity or influencer online go get it is very concerning to me. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying do thorough research first. They say comparison is the thief of joy. And when we're on social media, even if it's not a conscious thing, subconsciously or consciously, we're comparing ourselves to other people that have, like I said, these false and curated lives. And it's having a detrimental effect on our self esteem, self worth, and our mental health just in general. And this is a quick trigger warning. If you have facial dysmorphia or body dysmorphia, I'm going to talk about that a little bit, just briefly here. So if you want to skip ahead to the next section, you can go ahead and do that. We open the camera and we're about to take a selfie and we just feel like, oh my God, I hate the way my freaking nose looks, or I hate the texture on my skin. I wish my lips were bigger, whatever. And so we put that filter on, and then it's like a domino effect. Well, that can have real life consequences. There's something called selfie dysmorphia or Snapchat dysmorphia. The Snapchat comes from the fact that the heavy use of filters really originated on Snapchat, but it has a really detrimental effect on the body. This concept is basically when you get so used to seeing your face with a filter on it, with smooth skin, with your features slightly altered, that when you start to see yourself in real life, you start to dislike the way that you look. You only want to see yourself with that filter. A lot of plastic surgeons are saying that the amount of patients that are coming to them saying that they look better in their selfies is significantly increasing as the years are going on. This is a real issue, and it can seem lighthearted because of course, there are silly little filters out there. The iconic dog ear filter from Snapchat. Filters can be fun and lighthearted. But when we really get into the nitty gritty of it, I really want to think about how many of us, right, would be quick to put a filter on our picture over just taking a selfie without one. And I also want to think about the way we feel about our faces in real life. If you have a dislike for the way that you look in real life, I really want you to think, is there any chance at all, that this can be coming from the filters, from the editing apps when we go in on Facetune and smooth everything out? Is there any correlation between the two? Because for some of us, not all, for some of us, we may realize that there is. And that's normal and it's okay, and we can begin to work on it once we realize the issue is there. So I want to go back to the topic of validation. I mentioned it earlier, but I really want to talk about this a little bit more in depth. The current social media culture that we have really leads to a lot of us having these validation seeking behaviors where we want the likes, we want the comments, we want the shares. And because this is an external form of validation, right, it is volatile. We have no control over it. Those highs of online validation are high and the lows are lows. If you post a selfie of yourself or a cute picture and it gets everybody's idea of getting a lot of likes is different, but let's say it gets a lot of likes, right, for you. Great feeling. But then you post the next selfie and it doesn't really get likes. So you're like, is there something wrong with my hair? Did I not do my makeup right? Do I look ugly? Like, what's going on? The chasing of that external validation can lead us to having anxiety because it's just so unstable, right? When it's coming internally, if you say, I'm beautiful every day I wake up, regardless of how I look, I'm beautiful, right? We have control over that. But when we're chasing that validation that we don't have control over, that can get really shaky and really scary very quickly. That's why I think it's so important for us to try to break the ties that we have to chasing the validation of other people. Self-esteem is called self-esteem for a reason. I think that it is completely normal, right, to care about what your friends and your loved ones think about you to a certain extent. But when it comes to strangers online, it can get shaky and scary very quickly because, as we all know, there's crazy people out there. There's people out there that want to hurt your feelings. They want to hurt anybody's feelings they can because they themselves are hurt and going through something. I don't know. Either way, it doesn't matter because that doesn't justify the negative and nasty behavior that people display online. You can post the most beautiful picture in the world and somebody will come up and say, you look stupid, you look ugly, right? And if your validation is placed externally on these people that you don't know, then that stupid passing comment that they made can have you down and out for a week. And if we learn how to take that and flip it, right? So we don't care what these people think. So we have this sense of self and validation and love coming from the internal, right? Then I feel like we can eliminate a lot of these negative and hostile feelings we have about ourselves and the way that we look. And plus, y'all know how the internet works. One week they love you, then the next week they hate you. So this isn't really something we should be putting much stake in anyways. So to quickly summarize, right? A lot of these people that we follow on social media have fake, curated, filtered lives, and we're constantly comparing ourselves to them. And that can obviously lead to negative impacts on our mental health and overall well-being. Because unless you have money for these expensive makeup artists, hairstylists, cosmetic procedures, who knows what they're putting on their faces to make them look the way that they're looking, I don't know, then we're not going to be able to attain what they have in the way that they look. And for a lot of them, they can't even attain their look online because you'll see, like I mentioned before, pictures of celebrities that are unfavorable and you realize, okay, their skin is not smooth as a baby's bottom. Their ends are a little bit fried, just like mine. They look just like us, but they figured out that formula to make themselves look perfect online. I think that we need to remember also that we choose who we give platforms to. We choose who we give our energy to, right? There's plenty of people out there that are authentically representing themselves, that aren't putting on fakeness, a false life. And also quickly, I want to clarify, when I say people are putting fakeness out there, they're posting curated lives, I'm not saying that you owe the internet all of your business and you have to come on the internet and just give it all. I'm not saying that. I'm talking about the people that are intentionally being deceitful and putting on this mask and parading around like they're perfect when they're really not. And they know that it can be detrimental to other people. And specifically for a lot of these people, their followings are young girls. They know what they're doing. But like I was saying, we choose who we give platforms to, right? So there's plenty of people out there that are presenting themselves in an authentic way, and we can choose to give these people a platform, to give them the follows and the likes that we're giving to the other people. And they may not be able to reach the same level as the top influencers or celebs in this field can, but there's plenty of micro influencers out there that are making a killing financially, that can support their lifestyles to be able to continue to post content that we can be giving a platform to. Now, here's a hard pill that I had to swallow myself. Big bad social media is definitely a part of this greater issue, and we definitely need to hold them accountable. But I also think that in order for us to be able to truly escape the fakeness of social media, we have to take accountability, some responsibility, and have a little bit of self-awareness. Just hear me out, okay? I have a few things that we can work on so that we can better this issue for ourselves individually. Because as we know, social media is a big machine and we're not going to be able to stop that train. But what we can control is what we do, what we consume, and how we move, okay? So just hear me out. First things first, I think that we can practice some self compassion. It's important to remember that everybody's going on their own journey. Everybody is going through struggles of their own, and it's important to not compare your real life and your real life issues to somebody else's highlight reel on social media. Because I can bet off $50 in my bank account that your favorite celebrity or that your favorite influencer is going through their own issues behind the scene. If they turn that camera around, those unfolded clothes are going to be on that couch. But they made sure that the background that they were in was spick and span and clean. Not everything you see on social media is as it seems. So just be nice to yourself and please don't forget that. Secondly, I think we should prioritize more time offline. I know that that sounds like common sense to some people, but you would be surprised how many of us are mildly or sometimes severely addicted to social media and just mindlessly scrolling and consuming the content that is being thrown at us. Don't forget to do things that bring you joy in real life, to connect with other people in real life, right? Focus on things that can help you grow in real life as well. It's important for us to remember that our real lives go beyond our little screens, right? And our lives in real life are just as important, if not, in my opinion, more important than our lives on the internet. Finally, I think it is very important to be responsible users of social media ourselves. I think when we're trying to pursue a certain life, it's okay to edit things and to not put all your business out there, like I said. That's not the point. But if you know, for example, that you're a beauty influencer or a lifestyle influencer, whatever, and you know that majority of your content is catered towards young girls, young women, painting this false picture and always making it seem like everything is so perfect and you're getting all these comments, "Oh my gosh, your hair is always so perfect and your skin is always so perfect and everything about you is always so perfect." And you're like thinking in the back of your head like,
Dang, I just spent the last 2 hours editing this picture I just posted, and I just put 18 girdles on so my stomach wasn't showing.
I think it's okay to find a good balance between not putting all your business out there, but also just being authentic and realistic about what it is you're doing and how you're achieving certain things. And I think on the other side of this coin, it's important to be conscious of who it is that we're following, who we're subscribing to, who we're engaging with, right? Because if you know that a certain look triggers you or if a certain type of person triggers you, right? Like let's say for example, you have curly hair, right? Or you have kinky hair and you are very frustrated and you know that you've always wanted a very loose texture of hair, it's okay to follow people that look like you, right? It's okay to unfollow the people that are triggering you and making you feel insecure. And that's not saying that you have to be a hater and leave hate comments. I recently wanted to make a conscious effort. If I see somebody on my For You page that looks like me, I'm following them because I want more content of people that are darker skinned, that have bigger noses, that have natural hair, whatever, people that look like me. I know I'm not going to get off of social media anytime soon, right? But I want to be able to try to rewire my brain that what I see on social media is realistic and it's beautiful, right? I look at these people and I'm like, wow, she's beautiful. And guess what? She also looks like me. So that's telling my brain she's beautiful. We look alike. So therefore, I'm beautiful. It's like a hack. So this is where that kind of self-awareness part that I mentioned earlier comes in. We have to be self-aware about what triggers us so that we know what to avoid and work on. But that is going to be the end of today's video. I'm so curious to see what you guys think about this topic. This is going to be an issue for a very long time. I'm very aware of that. I know this video isn't going to change this issue, but I hope that it can help at least one person. I hope one person listens to this and says, you know what?
You're right. I am going to follow more people that look like me. I am going to try to go on Google and look up how to stop seeking external validation. Thank you so much, Ari. I appreciate that.
But I would love to see what you guys think about this topic in the comments. Like I said, if you did like the video, don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe, and I can't wait to see you guys next week. Have a good one. Bye-bye.